This is a fourth video series of ASP.NET MVC 3. In this video, we will add more entity and relationship and make use of data annotation attribute to control behavior of model class. So let's first run the application. So here you can see it display time along with date, but here we want to display only date. So we can fix this problem using data annotation attribute. So let's do it. First here I need to add one name page. So let's say system component model data annotation. And here I am going to use a display format attribute. Let's say display format, and here let's say data format string equal to 0 d. Here like this one, and here let's say apply format edit mode is equal to true. That's it. So now we can go ahead and run this page. So notice here time are no longer display, it display only date. So let's move on. So this line of code specify formatting should be applied when value is displayed in a text box for editing. And here also I want to add another attribute called max length attribute, and it's 50. Here you can see error message. Here you can say name and not be less than 50 characters. So let's run this application. Click on books. Click here in edit. Here you can see our formatted date without time because we specify here apply format in mode is true. So let's try here the name book is not less than 50. Try to save. Here you can see book name cannot be less than 50 characters. Just delete. Now let's try to save, and it saved successfully. So let's move on. Next I want to add one entity class. So let's right click on new item. Here choose class, give it the name for author. Here component model, data annotation, and let me just grab this code so you don't need to see me writing a code, and I will explain code. So this is just an entity class. First I here define a author ID, and here after that I define last name property, and here I define required attribute because this field is required. So, and also I define display attribute. If defined, a caption of text property is last name and maximum length is 50. And here is our first mid name property, and here I define a join date property, and also I define here a display format, so it's display only a date without time. And here is our I define a full name. So full name is a calculate property that return a value that's created by concatenating two other property, last name and first mid name. And here is subject entity and office assignment entity. Currently we don't have office assignment entity, so let's create new item. Here click on class, here say office assignment at, and get name is here, data annotation, and I have put here, so let me just cut it and paste here. Here I define author ID. Here you can see our author entity, and you can see author ID, and also here I define key attribute because there is a one-to-one relationship between author and office assignment entity, and office assignment only exists in a relation to author it's assigned to, and therefore it's a primary key is also it's a foreign key to the author entity. But entity framework cannot automatically recognize author ID as the primary key of this entity because its name does not follow the ID or class name ID naming convention. Therefore key attribute is used to identify it as the key. Next, also I want to create another entity class, so let's do it. Right click on model, add new item, click on, and here I can give the name publisher, I need to create a namespace, system, component model, data annotation, and let me just copy the code and paste it here. So here you can see it's just an entity class. And here first we define publisher ID, and after that we define a name property, and we use a required attribute and max length attribute, and we define here a budget property, and we used a display format attribute, required attribute, and here we used a column attribute. So here column attribute is being used to change SQL data type mapping so that column will be defined SQL Server money type in the database. Here you can see after that we define a start date property, and it has a display format and required attribute, and after that we define author ID. So author ID property is included as a foreign key to the author entity, and question mark is added after the int type. Here you can see to mark property as a nullable, navigation property is named administrator but hold author entity. And here you can see a publisher have many subjects, so here is subject is a navigation property. Next I want to make some changes in our subject entity, so first let's open it. Here say total data annotation. Here I need to create the database generated option dot none. So normally by default primary key is generated by database. Here we specify primary value provided by user rather than generated by database. Here I am going to display name, number, here I am going to use a required here we can say error message title world, so I am going to use max length, let's say 50. Here so I need one display name publisher, public and user ID, say public virtual user user, so public virtual collection. Here we need author, say authors, editor, inserter. Also here we need editor. So let's switch here in our book entity and make some changes. Here first I need required, here error message, say name world, display name name and here world message world display name publish and let's open here publish entity and add data annotation. And here in red thing I want to add display format data formatting as like mode to and I will display text. Waiting. And now let's open our library context file. Let's just copy. Reset. First we need method. Method. Reset. Book. This assignment. And here save the builder entity. We are going to use entity dot as optional. This assignment. It's required. So here you can see it's one-to-one relationship between author and office assignment entity. Here you can see model user dot we need here also checked dot as many author with many checked map map left key. Here first we need object ID left right key. Here we need ID table set. So here you can see it is a many-to-many relationship between subject and author entity. Model.builder entity publisher none. So one-to-many relationship between author and publisher. Here I made little mistake. I defined two-time loop. So here it actually is publisher. Now let's open library initializer, and here I want to define some test data. So let's do it. I have here some data, and let me just copy. Paste it here. So here you can see I define author and define some data. Here I define publisher, define some data, and here I define cookie assignment, and initialize some data. So first let me show you our database. So here you can see we have a three table: book, public and subject. So we made many changes in the application. We create new entity like author, publisher and office assignment, and also initialize data for our testing purpose. So when I run this application, it will drop old database and create a new database for us. So it will create a new table here like author, publisher and office assignment. Now first let's save changes all, and now let's run the application. Click on books. So the page looks same as it did before, but behind the scenes the database has been recreated. So let me show you. Here you can see a new table is created: author, office assignment, publisher and subject author. Thanks for watching this video.